During the celebration that was supposed to mark my big promotion, my boss gave the title to someone else, the newest hire. I smiled, raised my glass like everyone else, but deep down, I was crushed. The restaurant buzzed with chatter and clinking glasses. Warm golden lights hung overhead, casting a soft glow over the long table filled with my coworkers, all in high spirits. This evening was meant to be mine. I had given 5 solid years to this company, staying late, solving the messiest problems, mentoring newcomers even when I wasn't expected to. I went above and beyond every day. For months, Fernando, my boss, kept dropping hints that I was up next for the senior manager role. I had pictured the moment over and over. The applause, the pride, the moment I'd finally feel seen. As I straightened my navy dress and glanced around, everything felt perfect. The company was celebrating another successful quarter, and I was sure my time had come. Then Fernando stood up, tapping his fork against his glass. The room slowly went quiet. "Tonight," he began, voice clear and confident, "I'd like to recognize someone who's made a remarkable impact in a short period of time. It's rare to see this kind of drive and results so early on." That's when my heart sank. In just 3 months? He turned toward Juliana, the newest hire. "Juliana, your performance, leadership, and innovative thinking have set a new standard. That's why I'm proud to name you our new senior manager. Congratulations." The room erupted in applause. I sat frozen, gripping my champagne glass tightly. My throat burned as I forced a smile. I clapped along while Juliana, blushing, accepted the applause and her new title. I couldn't believe it. And then, as if trying to soften the blow, Fernando looked at me and added, "And Paula, of course, we truly value the hard work you put in." That was all. No title, no recognition, just a throwaway line after half a decade of dedication. I forced my smile wider. "Juliana deserves it," I said, raising my glass. Fernando smiled. "She's already outpacing you, Paula. Maybe take a few notes." The group chuckled. Juliana let out an awkward laugh. "Oh, I wouldn't say that." But the damage was done. I laughed too. What choice did I have? Cry? Demand an explanation? Ask why he'd led me on for months only to blindside me in front of everyone? Instead, I sipped my drink and kept smiling. The night went on. I talked. I laughed. I pretended to celebrate. But inside, I was already done. When the party ended and I stepped outside into the cool evening, I pulled out my phone. My hands shook a little as I typed a short email. Subject: Resignation letter. "Hi, Fernando. Please see attached my official resignation, effective immediately. Best, Paula." I hit send without hesitation. As soon as the message left my outbox, I inhaled deeply. For the first time in a long while, I felt something real. Relief. But that wasn't the end. Monday was coming, and Fernando had no idea what was waiting for him. The office felt different that morning. I walked in calmly, knowing my resignation letter was already sitting in his inbox. No panic. Just peace. Everything around me looked normal. The receptionist waved. My coworkers were chatting by the coffee machine. Juliana was at her desk, clearly still riding the high of her new title. I wasn't angry with her. She wasn't the problem. The problem had a corner office and a history of empty promises. I calmly placed my bag down and turned on my computer. I wanted Fernando to come to me. Right on cue, his door flew open.
"Paula."
"In my office."
"Now."
The entire floor fell silent. Everyone turned. He sounded nothing like himself, tense, shaken, almost panicked. I stood, smoothed my blouse, and walked toward his office. The door clicked shut behind me. He was already seated, staring down at a printed copy of my resignation. "You're leaving?" he asked, as if the words were foreign. "Yes," I said, taking the seat across from him. "Effective immediately. But why now? This feels sudden. We didn't even talk about this." I let out a short, dry laugh. We didn't talk about Juliana's promotion either. But here we are. His jaw clenched. "Paula, it wasn't personal. She just outperformed you." She's only been here 3 months, I replied, tilting my head. But sure, if that's what you believe. He leaned in. I do appreciate you. You've been crucial to this team for years. I don't want to lose you. I stared at him for a beat. You say that now. But when it mattered, when you had the chance to show it, you didn't. Instead, you made me the punchline at my own celebration, and then told me to learn from someone who hasn't even unpacked her desk. His expression cracked. For once, he looked unsure. Look, he muttered, running a hand through his hair, maybe I mishandled it. But quitting like this, it's emotional. You're making a rash choice. I gave him a cold smile. I sent that email Friday night, Fernando. If I were being emotional, I would have stormed out right then. But I didn't. I waited. I thought it through. I'm leaving on my terms. His fist clenched on the desk. So what now? He snapped. Going to a rival company? Because don't forget, you signed a non-compete. I chuckled. Oh, Fernando, you really have no idea. I don't need to go to a rival, I said as I stood up. Because while you were too busy ignoring everything I brought to the table, someone else was paying attention. His brows furrowed. What are you talking about? I took a slow, satisfying breath. You remember Andre? The CFO you let go last year? Fernando tensed. Of course he remembered. Andre used to be one of the company's top executives, smart, strategic, and respected by most. But he and Fernando never saw eye to eye. After too many disagreements, Fernando pushed him out, convinced he could be easily replaced. A few months back, Andre reached out to me. I continued calmly. He's launching his own firm and asked me to oversee the operations team. A director-level position. I paused. I initially turned him down. I had still believed in this company then. I leaned forward slightly, lowering my voice. But after what happened Friday night, that changed everything. I called him the moment I left the party. He repeated the offer, and that time I said yes. Silence. The kind of stunned silence that settles when someone gets blindsided. Fernando looked at me like he couldn't quite comprehend what I was saying. You're joining Andre's company? He finally asked, his voice tight with tension. I start Monday. I confirmed. He opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, but nothing came out at first. Then he let out a sharp exhale. Paula, think this through. This place has been your home for 5 years. Surely we can work something out. We can talk about. I'm not here to negotiate. I interrupted smoothly. The decision's already made. His jaw tightened. If you walk out now, there's no coming back. I smiled. I won't need to come back. I got up and walked to the door. Right before stepping out, I turned over my shoulder. You know, Fernando, it's funny how people only start to value you the moment you're gone. And with that, I left him alone with his regret. As I stepped into the open office again, it was like the whole floor had hit pause. The usual Monday buzz had vanished. Conversation stopped. Keyboards fell quiet. People peeked over their cubicle walls. Some looked away as soon as we made eye contact, but they knew. And within minutes, they'd know everything. I returned to my desk with a calm expression, opened my laptop, and forwarded my resignation letter to the entire executive team. Subject: formal resignation. Effective immediately, I am stepping down from my role. This experience has been unforgettable. Best. Paula. Short, clear, and professional, but the message behind it couldn't have been louder. I was done. Just seconds after hitting send, the whisper started. One voice here, another there. A few shocked expressions and raised eyebrows. It didn't take long for the news to ripple through the office like wildfire. Then came the first approach. Paula, is it true? I turned and saw Rachel, one of the few people I actually trusted here. She looked stunned. I nodded with a quiet smile. Yeah, it's time. She exhaled sharply and shook her head. Wow. I mean, I get it. I just didn't think you'd actually leave. Neither did Fernando, I said under my breath. She laughed, but it was half a scoff. Well, he's a fool. Everyone here knows you deserve that promotion. A few more coworkers hovered nearby, pretending to check papers or send emails, but really just trying to eavesdrop. Even Juliana peeked up from across the room, her eyes darting from me to Fernando's office, unsure if she should feel guilty or grateful. She looked like she wanted to say something, but she didn't. And honestly, I didn't care anymore. About 10 minutes later, as I was sealing up the last of my personal items in a box, a notification popped up in my inbox. Meeting request from Fernando. Subject: urgent, let's talk. Time: 15 minutes from now. Location: my office. I stared at the invite for a few seconds and sighed. Desperate people do desperate things. I didn't rush. I walked back to his office with deliberate calm. When I stepped inside, the door clicked shut behind me. Fernando looked different. The arrogance was gone. That confident, smug look he usually wore had vanished. Now, he looked like someone who finally realized he'd made a huge mistake. "Paula," he said, leaning forward. "Can we talk? You're reacting emotionally."
This isn't you.
I chuckled softly. "Fernando, I gave this company 5 years. The only impulsive decision in this room was yours." His lips pressed together tightly. "Look, I admit the promotion could have been handled better. But we can fix this. Whatever Andre's offering, I'll match it." I tilted my head. "You don't even know what he offered me." "Does it matter?" he shot back. "We can make it work. A higher salary, more flexibility, maybe even." I raised my hand to cut him off. "You still don't get it." Silence. I leaned in a little. "This was never about money. It's always been about respect." He tensed. "I'm not staying in a place that only values me when I threaten to leave. I'm not sticking around just because you're suddenly scared to lose me. If I wasn't worth anything to you before, why would I believe I am now?" His nostrils flared slightly. He wasn't used to losing control. "Paula, you're walking away from a steady job. For what? A startup that might fail?" I smiled. "That startup is being run by someone who sees what I bring to the table. And I'd rather bet on myself than stay somewhere that treats me like I'm disposable." I stood. "Goodbye, Fernando." And I walked out. The act of packing up my life into a cardboard box felt surreal. As I made my way to the elevator, a few co-workers clapped softly, small acknowledgments of my quiet triumph. They knew. Juliana, still at her desk, finally stood and walked toward me. "Paula, I didn't know." I raised an eyebrow. "Didn't know what?" Her mouth opened, then shut again. She knew.
Of course she did.
Maybe she hadn't planned it, but she definitely benefited from my loss. "It's okay, Juliana," I said, not unkindly. "Enjoy the promotion." She flinched slightly, but I was already stepping into the elevator. As the door slid shut, I let out a long, slow breath. This wasn't just an ending. It was the beginning. The Monday after I walked out of Fernando's office for the last time, I stood in front of a sleek glass building, staring at the new chapter one was about to begin, Carter and Associates. Andre's company was smaller than my last one, but it was full of energy, purpose, and drive. People here weren't just maintaining a system, they were building something real. As I stepped through the doors, I felt something I hadn't felt in years.
Excitement.
No more being ignored. No more being passed over. No more Fernando. As I rode the elevator to the top floor, my reflection in the mirrored doors looked different. Stronger. Sharper. This wasn't just a new job. This was freedom. And the moment I walked into my new office, a real office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a door I could actually close, I knew I had made the right decision. The morning flew by in a blur of introductions, meetings, and onboarding, but the vibe here was unlike anything at my old job. For one thing, people actually listened. During my very first leadership meeting, Andre turned to me with a smile. "Paula, I want you to take charge of our new initiative. We're overhauling operations, and with your background, you're the best person for the job." Just like that. No jumping through hoops. No proving myself again and again. They already knew what I brought to the table. I nodded without hesitation. "I'd love to," I said simply. A few teammates smiled in quiet approval. Andre just gave a calm nod, like he expected nothing less. This was how work was meant to be. No drama. No politics. Just respect. 2 days after I left my old job, the first crack started to show. My phone buzzed with a message from Rachel. Paula, oh my God. Fernando is completely falling apart. Since you left, it's been a disaster. I smirked but kept reading. He had to call an emergency meeting because no one knows how to handle half the things you used to take care of. And guess what? Juliana isn't doing more than you. She doesn't even know what she's doing. I laughed out loud. Of course. Naturally. Fernando had overestimated Juliana and completely underestimated me. Then another message came through. Also, get this. 3 clients already asked about you. When they heard you left, they were not happy. The rush of satisfaction I felt was indescribable. Fernando had taken me for granted for years, and now, finally, he was learning a lesson. Some people are not replaceable. That same afternoon, while reviewing strategy briefs in my new office, my assistant poked her head in. Paula, you've got a call on line 1. It's from a company called Dawson and Company. They said they used to work with you and want to discuss switching over. I blinked in surprise. Dawson and Company had been one of the biggest clients at my previous company. Put them through, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. A moment later, I heard the familiar voice of Mark Dawson, the CEO. Paula, he said warmly, I heard you joined Carter and Associates. We should talk. I leaned back in my chair as a slow, satisfied smile spread across my face. Of course, Mark. How can I help? Within a week, 3 of the top clients from my old company had reached out to me, all saying the same thing. Things just aren't the same since you left. We don't feel like we're in good hands anymore. If you're running operations at Carter, we want to move with you. And so, one by one, they did. I wasn't chasing after them. I didn't have to. They came to me because they trusted me, not the company I used to work for. And Fernando? He was scrambling. Rachel kept sending me updates. Juliana's drowning. She's in way over her head. Fernando was screaming in a closed-door meeting this morning. The board is furious about the lost clients. The investors are applying pressure. Word is Fernando's being told to fix things fast. I could practically picture his face. The panic. The regret. And the best part? I wasn't even trying to ruin him. I was just finally doing well. Somewhere else. That Friday afternoon, as I wrapped up my day, my phone buzzed with a new email. From Fernando. Subject: Proposal. Paula, I'd like to have a conversation. I believe we can reach a mutually beneficial agreement if you're open to it. Let's schedule a meeting next week to discuss some options. Looking forward to your response. Fernando. I leaned back in my chair, letting out a soft, disbelieving laugh. He was desperate. And for the first time in 5 years, I held all the power. I stared at that email, letting the weight of the moment sink in. The same man who once dismissed me without a second thought. Now he was chasing after me, with an offer. The man who once laughed at my expense. The same man who told me, Juliana does a lot more than you already. Now he was the one reaching out. And I knew exactly why. His world was falling apart. I didn't rush my response. No panic, no eagerness, just quiet, calculated control. Subject: a proposal. Fernando. I'm available for a short meeting Monday at 10 a.m. Let me know if that works for you. Best. Paula. I hit send and shut my laptop. I wasn't walking into that meeting to negotiate. I was walking in to watch him squirm. At exactly 10 a.m., I stepped into the familiar glass building I'd walked out of weeks ago. But everything felt different now. The receptionist hesitated before greeting me, unsure whether I was a visitor or a ghost from the past. Employees glanced up as I passed by, then quickly looked away. They all knew. And then, I stepped into Fernando's office and saw him. He looked awful. Dark bags under his eyes. Nervous energy in his fingers tapping on the desk. He wasn't the same smug man who once belittled me. Thanks for coming, he said, forcing a strained smile. I sat down, crossing my legs and resting my hands in my lap. Of course. What's on your mind? He exhaled and leaned forward. I won't waste your time. We need you back, Paula. I didn't say a word. I let the silence do the talking. He continued, a little slower now. I misjudged your importance. I'll admit that. But we can fix this. If you return, I'm ready to offer you a significant raise, a senior executive title, and full control of your department. He leaned back like that offer should have blown me away. It didn't. I tilted my head. Let me get this straight. You had 5 years to see my worth. 5 years to give me a promotion. 5 years to show respect. I paused for a moment before continuing. And instead, you passed me over for someone who had been here 3 months and told me to take notes on how to be better. Now that you've lost clients and your company's falling apart, suddenly you're ready to give me everything I deserved all along? Fernando's jaw tensed. Paula, come on. I held up a hand and cut him off. Let me ask you something. If I never left, would I be sitting here right now? Would you be offering me this out of appreciation? Or is it just because you're losing control? His silence was the answer. He tried to hide it, but I saw it in his eyes. The truth. He never saw my value. Not until it cost him everything. I let out a small, amused laugh. That's what I thought. The desperation started to show in his voice. Paula, be smart. You have history here, a future. Do you really want to throw away all the work you've done? I smiled. Fernando, you still don't get it, do you? I stood up, straightened my blazer, and leaned in slightly.
I never needed you. You needed me.
And now you're finally realizing that. His expression darkened, but I saw it. The flicker of panic behind his eyes. I walked toward the door. And just before stepping out, I paused. Take notes, Fernando, I said softly, echoing his words from before. Maybe next time, you'll learn to appreciate the people who actually keep your company running. Then I left. And this time, I didn't look back. Back at Carter and Associates, everything was thriving. Our client list had nearly doubled. More and more companies were leaving Fernando's sinking ship and coming to us. And then, one quiet Friday afternoon, Rachel sent me one final update that made me laugh out loud. Fernando just got fired. The board forced him out. They couldn't recover from all the clients they lost. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my coffee.
Perfect.
Fernando thought I was replaceable. Turns out,
He was.
and me? I was exactly where I was meant to be.